Hi guys, Olive here. I am here today to do a little bit more of a chatty, casual video, but one that I am extremely excited to do nonetheless. And that is to tell you guys all about me getting my very first literary tattoo yesterday. First, I should say, I have wanted a tattoo for a really long time. Back when I was a teenager, it was always something that I thought that one day I'll eventually go out and do. But I am just not someone who acts on impulses. I do have to say that I'm glad I was able to restrain myself back when I was an 18-year-old kid. Not that I'm like an elderly person now or anything. But I am glad I waited until I found something that was truly meaningful for me, and I've had more time to get to know myself and what's important to me before I made a decision like this. But about a week ago, I was reading a book, and I will tell you what that book is in just a moment. But I read this phrase and it just kind of like clicked with me. It just like immediately connected. As readers, I am sure you all have experienced that moment where you're reading something and it's not just a beautiful line, but it's like this feeling of, yes, that's the feeling. That is the emotion I've been having. Where have you been all my life? It just like fucking connects fundamentally with who you are. When you discover something like that, whether it be seeing it or reading it, you just want to shout it from the rooftops. You want to see a physical manifestation of it somewhere in your space, whether that be a tattoo or not. I know tattoos can be somewhat controversial because everyone does have their own different opinion on tattoos. When you're talking about a tattoo, you're talking about a pretty permanent body modification, and I know that's not for everybody. But I do think when you connect with something, there is a desire to see it in your space, to have it with you. But I read this line and had this thought in my head, like, I've wanted to have a tattoo for so long now. I'm in my late 20s. If I don't do this now, when am I going to do this? And perhaps this will be a good exercise in me letting myself experience things a little bit, not being so controlled all the time. I am a pro at self-restraint and delayed gratification, like to a fault. But although it is cliched, life is extremely short. And if I'm not doing the things that I'm excited about, the things that are going to make me happy, then maybe I'm not living as much as I should be. The book that contained the phrase that inspired this revelation was Margaret I by Danielle Dutton. This is a historical fiction novel all about Margaret Cavendish, the first woman in England who wrote to publish. On page 68 of this book, Margaret is talking about how she just published her first book and is discussing people's reactions to it. At this time period in England, it was very unusual for a woman to have published a book, and so reactions are mixed. One woman wrote to her fiancé in London, "If you meet with poems and fancies, send it me. They say 'tis 10 times more extravagant than her dress." Then a week later followed that note with another, "You need not send me my lady's book at all, for I have seen it, and am satisfied that there are many soberer people in Bedlam. But oddity is fodder for talk, and my book was soon required reading in London's most fashionable parlors." There was something about the phrase, "oddity is fodder for talk," that connected. I love that section of the sentence so much because you can interpret it in several different ways. Oddity is fodder for talk. Things that are different get people talking. Things that are different get noticed. People that are different get stared at. It's going to be impossible for me to talk about something that I've gotten tattooed on myself without it getting personal, so let's just go for it. My entire life, I have felt so incredibly different than everyone around me. I feel that I have perpetually stuck out like a sore thumb, and not in the fun, cool way, but in the I feel so isolated because there's no one like me around kind of way. In high school, I didn't belong to any one particular group. I was never lacking friends, but I was always so different and so interested in everything that I never just fit with one particular group of people. It's not very much unlike the experience I'm having on BookTube. I have always been, ever since I was a child, one of those people that you don't quite know what to do with. I don't think people think I'm unpleasant to be around. I just think that people don't know what to do with me. I talk a mile a minute. I'm extremely passionate about the things that I believe in and the things that I'm interested in. But I do speak my mind. I'm not afraid of confrontation. I'm not afraid to hear somebody else's opinion. And because I am so different in those fundamental ways, I am treated differently. I noticed this at such a young age that I was really different. And very early on, I decided to wear it like a badge of honor, that this is something I'm going to be proud of, that I am different. And I'm going to be okay with that. I'm going to learn to love that. I want to wear loud colors and be exactly who I am and be excited about the world in exactly the way that I want to be excited about it. But things come with that. But when you decide to do this and you decide to shake off all of the expectations that society has of you, people do think you're strange. People will be talking about you. But oddity is fodder for talk. You can look at that in slightly different ways and come up with a different interpretation every single time. It can mean things that are strange fuel discussion. The differences between us are fueling conversation. It is one of the things that I love so much about this community is that we're all so different, and all of our little quirks and differences keep this amazing conversation about learning and experiencing the world going in such amazing ways. So this phrase spoke to me on a personal and intellectual level, and spoke to my experience here on BookTube about why this is such an important part of my life now, after having felt isolated for a really long portion of my life. Having this tattoo on my shoulder represents all of that. And it's also kind of maybe a cheesy metaphor for that idea having my back at all times, to always keep this idea at the back of my mind and to go forward with courage, to be myself, to be different because it's the right thing for me to do. It did take a lot for me back in the day to decide, screw what everybody else wants for me in my life. I know what I want. I know what's going to make me happy. If it's not hurting anybody else, then why does anyone care? It took a lot for me to do that, because it is a desire that every person has to want to fit in. But if you're not being yourself, if you're not being an individual, if you're not doing what makes you happy, then I don't think you're living life to the fullest. But it does take courage every single day to go out into the world and to tell everybody, I don't care what you expect of me. I want to be myself. But I love that this tattoo dares you to talk about it. The tattoo itself took about 5 minutes to get done. It was not pain-free, but it was extremely tolerable. I am absolutely in love with it. I seriously could not be happier. I am thinking about doing a full review of this book because I highly suspect it will be the best book I read all year. It absolutely blew me away. Every few minutes, I was reading something else and feeling something else. I could get like this whole book tattooed on me if I'm honest. Like here's one later on that I could easily get tattooed as well. I am gallant, I am bold, I am right on time. Oh, it's so good! I would love to hear from you down in the comments or somewhere on social media if you want to DM me, if it's more of a private thing that you would like to share with me. If you've ever had this moment where there's been a line that speaks to you, and if you can interpret it in different ways, and if you've ever felt compelled to get a literary tattoo, if you do have a literary tattoo. The comment section is a great way to talk to me. Any of my social media profiles, which are all linked in the description box below, are all good places to get in touch with me as well. As always, thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a wonderful Sunday, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.